From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on June 18th, 2026 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, it's that runoff debate life, gang. That's right, I'm bringing you some highlights from the Republican gubernatorial runoff debate between Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette and Attorney General Alan Wilson. It was loud, spicy, and at times out of control.
Wow.
I also have some cuts from a more tame and understandable first Congressional District Republican runoff debate between Charleston County Councilwoman Costa Honeycutt and State Representative Mark Smith. So it's a tale of two debates in this episode. You can be crazy. You can be tame in the wind down. It's the wind down. It's your choice. 803-563-7169. Give us a shout. I think maybe we'll get some feedback after this episode. I hope so, because it's politics at its finest, some would say, in some sad ways. 803-563-7169. That's iron sharpening iron. That's the sound of that right there, folks. The runoff debate was held at Coastal Carolina University in Conway in the Republican stronghold county of Horry, or the Republic of Horry, whichever you prefer. This was again one of the SCGOP sanctioned debates that they partner with Gray Media on, which also comes with a live, loud, and at times out of control audience that even heckled candidates. Yeah, it's probably the most unprofessional debate I've seen, with no one even attempting to quell the audience. Even say, please stop, even though they probably wouldn't. You can at least try. Though, to be fair, they were never told at any point that such behavior wasn't acceptable. So, there you go. And of course, the audience was full of Evette and Wilson supporters trying to outdo each other, but there were also others who were yelling at the stage like it was the TV in their living rooms. I was in the balcony, clutching my pearls in between, dabbing my eyes as I wept for society. Nevertheless, I persevered. Though some people did leave, I watched people walk out. And I also heard from a TV reporter about how they got complaints, emails, and calls about people changing the channel because it was so bad. So I don't know about the ratings for this one, but the hour-long debate was a slogfest. Slogging through the slugfest. And again, when you allow for rebuttals, well, the entire thing spirals. That's why when I moderate a debate, just a little tidbit here, you don't rebut rebuttals, guys. Because when you attack someone, they get to respond, and guess what? They're going to say something mean about you, but you don't get to keep going back and forth. You'll listen to it. You'll tell me. You'll listen to it in a minute. So let's start the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. And that's when the candidates were asked about expanding gaming and whether they would support a casino in the state. Here's Evette.
Well, that's a great question. It's something I've been talking about since I threw my hat in the ring for governor. I think as the CEO of this state, you have to look at everything that comes across your desk. And if it has a good impact, then you got to take it to the people when it comes to casinos. Because I've been to all 46 counties many times, and I've heard from you, the people of South Carolina. If a development came to South Carolina that was 5 stars, similar to the Greenbrier, we should look at it and see what economic impact it plays in that area. But before we make any decisions, it should be put on the ballot, and the people of South Carolina should be voting on it. Because nobody should have to live with industry in their backyard that they don't want.
Attorney Governor, thank you. Attorney General, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Well, this is the second time I've been asked this question. I was asked in the first debate, a debate the Lieutenant Governor wasn't able to make it to, but I answered the question then, and I also answered this with the Palmetto family pledge that I made last week. Look, here's the thing. I've got friends on both sides of this issue, but I feel like as the governor, you have to be honest with people. You have to tell people what you feel and not hide behind, I'm going to give it to the people. Tell them what you think. Be honest. I tell folks all the time, I'd rather have your respect and your trust than your vote or your support. I'm sure that there are people out here who used to support me who are very pro-casino, who are going to be doubling down and funneling lots of money to negative commercials against me this week, lying about me through the Lieutenant Governor's campaign. That's fine. That's politics. But at the end of the day, I made it abundantly clear that I have serious concerns about casinos in South Carolina because I'm talking to law enforcement and faith leaders in other states, and they have voiced concerns that they wish they could go back and roll back the clock on having them in their state.
Attorney General, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you were mentioned. You now have time for rebuttal. You have 30 seconds for response.
Well, all I can say is this is the rantings of a true career politician. When somebody is talking facts about your record, if you want to talk, the Attorney General took a 126% pay increase during the last 8 years, the same pay increase the governor and I turned down. On the other hand, that's facts. Mudslinging comes when the Attorney General and his PACs and people put me on a television screen with drag queens. I have never met a drag queen. I've never met AOC. And for the record, I've never taken a lie detector test. That's mudslinging.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you.
I get it.
Attorney General, you were mentioned. You have 30 seconds.
Ma'am, you may not have taken a lie detector test, but you certainly lie a lot. The 126% pay increase you're talking about, that was the law that Governor McMaster passed. Ladies and gentlemen, she's lying to you to manipulate you because this was a law that the governor signed in that was given to the state commission that determined salaries. They're booing me, not giving me a chance to talk to you, the people of South Carolina. But at the end of the day, this is a misrepresentation.
Lieutenant Governor, you were mentioned again. You get another 30 seconds.
So I think the key that you missed there, Attorney General, is that you got it. We could have taken it. We turned it down because it's not right to take a pay increase when you're in office. I knew my salary when I ran for this position, and you knew yours. Now, you did not need to take it. It wasn't right. You talk about cutting taxes. You talk about getting rid of waste. How can you sit there and look at the people of South Carolina who are fighting to put food on their table when you took 126% pay increase off of their tax dollars?
Attorney Governor, thank you. Attorney General, you get another 30 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen at home, I became a career prosecutor because I wanted to be in public service. I have a wife and children on the front row, and I decided that I wanted to go into public service. I did not make millions of dollars selling DE products to businesses in South Carolina. The fact of the matter is that I did not give myself a pay increase. That was done by statute that the governor signed that was determined by the agency head salary commission. And by the way, the governor and lieutenant governor weren't even put in that bill, so they couldn't turn it down. That is a misrepresentation to you. She's manipulating you folks.
All right, Attorney General, thank you.
Absolutely not.
Lieutenant Governor, you're going to get the final word. We're going to give you 15 seconds here for the final word, and then we have to move on. Lieutenant Governor, 15 seconds.
You know, when I first got into public service, I never could understand what people meant when they said if Alan Wilson's lips are moving, he's lying. He knows full well that I did not profit from DEI.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you.
Y'all, this was just one question. That was 5 minutes there for one question. And here's some more when it comes to judicial reform and how judges are selected and elected in the state.
Look, I've been advocating for judicial reform for at least 15 years that I've been Attorney General. In fact, I've always advocated for the governor to have equal power to the legislature, not more power. You want the three branches of government in equal tension with each other. Right now, the legislature has an outsized portion of power when it comes to the selection of judicial candidates and then the election of those judicial candidates. I believe that the governor should control the vetting and the nominating of candidates, and the legislature should have up or down votes. Judges make such important decisions that affect your lives, whether they let violent criminals out, whether they hurt small businesses or any business when they make rulings in civil court that could hurt them. So I believe it's important for the governor to have the ability to control, or at least nominate all the commission members and control the staff who do the vetting of judicial candidates. Let the legislature have the up or down vote, but at the end of the day, it's about bringing a balance to power of government so that the people have an advocate in the governor and who sits on the bench.
Attorney General, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, same question. You have 60 seconds.
Well, thank you. This is something that the governor and I have been talking about for years, changing the way our judges are elected, making sure the governor can appoint and the General Assembly can confirm. Now, I think that's an amazing system unless Alan Wilson was the governor, because when James Smith was brought up to be nominated for the bench, Alan Wilson called legislators personally to advocate for him being a judge. James Smith was the Democrat candidate against Governor McMaster and I the very first time we ran for office. James Smith was endorsed by Planned Parenthood. James Smith was out there saying that he would be the LGBTQ governor. Now, that would scare me if Alan Wilson thinks that that's okay and would actually call the General Assembly personally to advocate. Who would he put on the bench?
Thank you. Attorney General, you were mentioned. You have 30 seconds for response.
There she goes again. Folks at home, I've spent my entire career in front of judges. I've spent my entire career working and fighting for victims. There's a reason 80% of the sheriffs in South Carolina have endorsed me in the race for governor. There's a reason that victims advocates around the state are behind me because of what I've done. What she is talking about is I called James Smith to ask him if he would uphold the rulings that overturned Roe v. Wade and then pass that on to legislators. I wasn't advocating for anybody. That is a lie. She is lying to you because she wants to manipulate you because she wants your vote. That's what this is about. It's a lie.
Attorney General, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you have another 30 seconds. You were mentioned as well. You have 30 seconds.
Well, this is real easy. You do not have to listen to me. Listen to the General Assembly members, the men and women in the House who did a press conference this week talking about the fact that Alan Wilson called them personally. Michelle Arimas was so offended that a Republican Attorney General would advocate for a Democrat that she came out on her own. You don't have to believe me. Believe the people he called.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you. Attorney General, you're going to get the final word. You got 15 seconds, and we got to move on.
So yes, legislators that endorsed her had a press conference to support her. Y'all, shocker. No. Listen, I sat down with Ralph Norman, Nancy Mason, Josh Kimbrell. They all understood. They actually were originally critical of me. But when I explained it to them, they understood that what she is saying is categorically false. It's not accurate. I have been a conservative, pro-life attorney, fighting for life, fighting for conservative values in front of the courts, all the way to the Supreme Court and back.
Attorney
and I will
General,
continue
thank you
to do
very
that as
much.
governor. Thank you.
And then just one more here when it comes to funding for South Carolina State University, the historically black university in Orangeburg, that rescinded Evette's commencement address invitation after students protested and signed petitions. She then called them a woke mob, and the university cited security concerns in canceling her invitation.
Yes, I do support that choice. And I'm going to tell you why. Because for far too long, conservative voices have been silenced on our college campuses and our schools, and that can't continue. As a mom that had 3 children, one that is in college currently, the indoctrination that happens on our college campuses is terrible. And so when SC State rescinded my invitation to be their commencement speaker, my feelings weren't hurt that the students may not have wanted me. My feelings, it was more of a sense of bewilderment at their reasoning. They didn't want me because I was pro-life and pro-Trump and anti-DEI and pro-law enforcement. And where was the faculty, where was the leadership there to say President Trump has been the biggest supporter of our historically black colleges and universities? And this South Carolina governor, lieutenant governor, General Assembly has done all they can to make sure funding is balanced. If our conservative tax dollars aren't welcome on college campuses, then neither is our money. We'll take it away if they try to stop conservative speech.
Thank you. Thank you. Attorney General, same question. You have 60 seconds.
So first off, there's 2 separate issues here. Obviously, tax dollars going to institutions of higher learning that suppress conservative speech through the institutions, through the faculty, through the administration. Absolutely, I would be for not giving them tax dollars. But I would never support taking tax dollars because a bunch of kids who didn't like me or didn't like my politics protested on a campus. If we're going to be conservative, to protect conservative speech, then we should be conservative in protecting all speech, even speech that which we don't agree with. Lieutenant Governor, I mean, I was obviously and honestly disappointed, I was really disappointed that you were getting down in the mud, mixing up with college kids. A governor has to rise above it. A governor has to be the governor for all people. Yes, we can oppose suppressing conservative speech on campuses, but stripping kids of money because they don't like you or disinvited you, That's not what a governor's supposed to do. We can do better than that. And as governor, I will be a governor for all people, and we will protect conservative speech, but we will also protect speech we don't agree with.
Attorney General, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you were mentioned. You have 30 seconds.
Well, obviously, the Attorney General missed the whole point. Free speech is speech for all, but the only speech that's being stopped on college campuses is conservative speech. And I really think what the Attorney General was upset with is probably the hundreds of thousands of dollars he spent trying to lie to the voters that I was somehow a DEI queen was squelched in 30 seconds with those students at SC State.
Governor, thank you. Attorney General, you have 30 seconds.
There she's going. She's lying again, folks. It's just more of the same. I mean, first off, Pam, we have the receipts, and we can put it out on the internet. It's there. Your company did sell DEI products before you became lieutenant governor. It's something you did. And Pam, you keep misrepresenting the truth. You've lied time and time again. You actually sent out a flyer to thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of people saying that you signed constitutional carry into law to protect the Second Amendment. Did you sign a bill into law, Lieutenant Governor Evette? I mean, please answer that for the people. I'll give you the next couple seconds. Go.
Oh, my goodness.
Lieutenant Governor, you have 30 seconds for your response.
Yes. Well, I owned a payroll HR company, so while I was trying to keep my clients from getting fined from horrible regulations that were coming out of D.C., that's what I did. So as I was out there protecting small and medium-sized businesses and running my own, if the Attorney General was really so upset with DEI, he should have been trying to fight it from his office and not letting it impact the small businesses here in South Carolina.
Attorney General, you have another 30 seconds.
Well,
we're going to reset the time. We'll reset the time. You have 30 seconds starting now.
no, thank you so much. First off, Pam, look, I understand you're trying to run from your record from when your time as CEO of your company. You did sell DEI products. You have lied about your record. You've lied about. You never answered the question. Did you sign a bill into law? You also said that you single-handedly kept sanctuary cities out of South Carolina, and you personally kept women and men out of women's sports. I'm the one in the lawsuit right now protecting that. Again, are you going to answer the question? Did you sign a bill in the law, and did you personally keep sanctuary cities out of South Carolina?
So, Alan,
Attorney General, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, we're going to reset the time. You have 15 seconds. Final word. We need to move on. You have 15 seconds.
first of all, I said it was the people of Charleston that kicked out a sanctuary city sheriff. That's what I said. The governor and I together are a team. I understand you don't get that, but we are. So when that was signed into law, it was signed in by the McMaster-Evette administration. So stop lying to these people. I'm surprised you even know what DEI is, never spending a day in business.
Thank you, Candace.
Alrighty then, that was just a little taste of it. If you want to watch the entire debate, you can do so on Live 5 News on their YouTube page or WIS-TV. All those gray media stations had it on their YouTube page. But let's head on down to the Low Country where Live 5 News held an in-studio debate with no audience. You can really tell the difference here between the two Republicans vying for the nomination in the race to replace 1st District Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Charleston County Councilwoman Costa Honeycutt and State Representative Mark Smith squared off for an hour Wednesday night debate on TV. And let's start with their opening statements just so you have an idea of who they are and what they're standing for.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you to the South Carolina Republican Party and Live 5 News for having this event here tonight, hosting this event here tonight. Also want to say thank you to Councilwoman Jenny Honeycutt for allowing this event to happen and being here tonight as well. Jenny, I've known you and your family for a very long time and hold all of you in very high regard. I'm Mark Smith. I'm a conservative Republican running for the 1st Congressional District on a record of results. I'm super proud of my voting record and what we've been able to do for South Carolina in my short 6 years of serving in South Carolina. I'm a 4th generation Low Country native, born and raised right here in South Carolina, the Low Country. I'm a 1st generation small business owner. I own funeral homes in the area. I've spent the past 30 years of my professional career serving our community during the most difficult times of their life, dealing with the death of a loved one. All I've known my entire professional career is serving our community. I've brought that same 5-star level of service in the 6 years of serving in the State House, and I'm looking forward to diving deep in some of the results that we've been able to accomplish. Over the past year, since last August, we've held over 700 events throughout the 1st Congressional District, listening to the constituents along the 1st Congressional District, from McClellanville down to Hilton Head. Your voices have been very, very clear in terms of what you want and expect out of your next congressman, and I'm prepared and ready to deliver those results. I'm proud to say I've had over 80 endorsements, including local sheriffs, mayors, and elected officials throughout the 1st Congressional District, and I've been partnering with them to deliver results. They're friends of mine, and we're happy to continue that long legacy of service. This is a job interview. You folks have a very difficult decision. There's 2 candidates up here and 2 entirely different voting records and 2 different experiences bring to the table. My name is Mark Smith. I appreciate your vote tomorrow in the early voting or next Tuesday for the 1st Congressional District. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Representative Smith, thank you. Ms. Honeycutt, 2 minutes.
Good evening, and thank you to the South Carolina Republican Party and Gray Media for hosting this debate, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Jenny Costa Honeycutt, lifelong low-country Christian conservative. I'm a wife, a mom, a girls' sports coach, a small business owner, and an attorney. I'm also a trusted public servant. Like families across the Lowcountry, my husband of 25 years and I are raising our 3 children right here in the Lowcountry because we love this place we call home and we want to see its future brighter. I'm running for the Lowcountry's 1st Congressional District because we need a serious, steady leader in this position. Somebody who's about results, not just rhetoric. We need someone in Congress who will deliver. People across the Lowcountry share the same concerns I do. As a wife and a mom and a small business owner, I'm concerned about rising costs. I'm concerned about public safety. I'm concerned about protecting our freedoms and preserving our Lowcountry way of life. I stand proudly with President Trump in achieving his America First agenda, and when I'm elected to Congress, I will work tirelessly to restore fiscal responsibility, to reduce costs, to secure our border, and to strengthen our nation. But make no mistake, this race is not just about politics. It's also about knowing which person you can trust to deliver those results. I am not a career politician. This is not my 13th time on the ballot for my 4th seat. I am one who can deliver results. I am here asking for your vote tonight because I am not out for another title. I want to serve the Lowcountry. Thank you.
They also discussed Social Security, the rising national debt, immigration, Iran, AI, and housing affordability, all over, everything there. But another question was on population growth in the district and how a Republican would represent all folks in the district.
I want to make clear that we do need redistricting. And one of the things that we just didn't know in this last redistricting is how much this district had changed. There have been a lot of people that have moved here in the last 4 or 5 years, and we truly don't know if this is a +5 Republican district. One thing we do know is that these Democrat opponents are putting millions and millions of dollars to flip this seat again. And I'm the only person standing up here that won a race in Trump's midterm that was highly competitive and really outperformed the ticket. It is incredibly important if we want Republicans to win this seat that we send someone to the race in November who can beat the Democrat. But here's what I would say to those on the other side of the aisle who may be wondering if they could support me. I have a reputation for being a consensus builder, and on Charleston County Council, I've earned the respect of the other side because they know that I'm a serious, steady leader, and that I'm looking for solutions for all people, not just one side. And in local government, that's what we do. We mainly deal with issues that aren't red or blue. Things like infrastructure, transportation, making sure folks can get around safely and efficiently. And those issues don't necessarily require partisanship. And so my colleagues understand that I'm the type of person that's willing to work with anyone to provide the solutions the Lowcountry needs.
Representative Smith, 90 seconds.
You know, absolutely. I would say to them out there, to the Democrats, to the independents, to the Republicans, I've always taken the phone call. I've always taken the meeting. You know, it wouldn't have our government get opened back with just Republicans making that vote. It took a couple Democrats across the line to get the number of votes that had to happen. Working across the party aisle is a core function of what we have to do if we're going to move the needle forward in very important issues. I was fortunate in my sophomore year in the State House to be asked to serve as a whip. My proven record of being able to bring people together, to be a collaborator, it speaks volumes to being able to get bills. As a chairperson of Business and Commerce in LCI, and when I was the chairperson of the medical subcommittee for the 3M committee in the State House, I often took the committee bills that others didn't want to take because they didn't want to have those difficult conversations. And I got to tell you, some of the feedback I got after those meetings from those parents of children who wanted to have sex changes, for example, told me, I've never been treated with such dignity and such respect, and I expected just the opposite since I know that you're a Republican chairman. That's the same collaboration and respect. You know, it gets back down to just how we treat one another. You got to work across the party aisles and work within your own group, because that's how you get things done.
Now, you can find that entire debate, like I said, on Live 5's YouTube page. And Democrats Mac DeFord and Nancy LaCour are facing off on Tuesday as well. So the winner of both of those runoffs will face off in November. And it'll be a fun one to watch. It'll be a very spicy one. You know, like we say, SCO1, always growing, always changing. Now, we brought you some of their recent remarks in our last debate, too, when we're talking about the Democrats. So if you want to hear them, tune back into that. Anyway, on the way out, a campaign trail bite from Punchbowl News. Truth and Courage PAC, which is a super PAC that supports Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz, is spending $250,000 on a new ad boosting Wilson's bid for governor. Even though really he doesn't need it because the polls sound pretty favorable to him. But that's because Cruz has been wading into contested GOP gubernatorial primaries in several key states, endorsing Wilson over Evette in South Carolina and backing Rick Jackson in Georgia. And Jackson just won the GOP nomination on Tuesday night in the Peach State. And while Evette has President Donald Trump's endorsement, TBD on how it's going to look on Tuesday. Now, this new ad for Wilson, which mentions Cruz's support, is running up in the Greenville market. So the upstate is seeing this ad. So the dueling endorsements of Trump and Cruz, a little proxy war, a little 2028 storyline that begins here.
2028. Watch.
And Cruz just won a big one, like we said, in Georgia. Will he do the same in South Carolina on Tuesday? That's for
You, the voter, to decide.
Welcome to the Wind Down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here along with A.T. Shire, lead podcast producer. Hello, A.T.
Hello, Gavin. Thank you for having me
Yeah,
here.
sure thing.
Thank you for having me here, by the way.
And you got the interns in there with you, too.
Yeah, they're here. Say hello.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep, see, proof of life. Anyway, Gavin, I have gotten a dispatch from the dragon owner himself, Scott Huffman. Okay?
Yeah, well, revisit, tell people scene set a little bit.
Okay, so after the primary, Gavin was on, and he had very good friend of the pod, Scott Huffman, on live feed. And there was very conspicuously in the background of the shot a very large red dragon. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I was watching this great coverage, and I'm sure Gavin and Scott were saying words, but all I could see and hear was my own brain saying dragon, dragon, dragon. And so I was texting to Gavin saying, well, surely you'll ask about the dragon soon, and nary a word. Well, Scott has gotten back to us.
Thank God. We need clarity here.
He says, I like to pretend the crystal ball is actually the Arkenstone.
Okay.
Although,
I'm already, okay.
That is the gem under the mountain that the party and the Hobbit are going to get, okay?
Okay, sure.
Yep. Although the Arkenstone is a faceted gem, but whatever, sure. He's in Arizona. I can't take a picture of the other stuff, but he calls it smog, which makes sense because smog is the dragon hoarding the fortune in the Lonely Mountain in the Hobbit.
Everything you're saying is more confusing than what you've said
Yes,
before.
You're welcome. So that dragon has been there for years, apparently.
Okay.
It just hasn't been in the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the shot, which needs to make their way into the shot, is a metallic covered silverish dragon that's a little bit smaller, and a plastic dragon that breathes glowing fire smoke, if he remembers to charge it. And there is also a small wizard with a gem for a torso. So there's a lot to be working on there. He goes on to say that he wants some pictures of Spider-Ham and Peter Porker. But I'm going to stick with Dragon there. Okay, Gavin?
That's incredible dispatch from a friend of the pod, Windsor University political science professor, Dr. Scott Huffman.
I've been floating the idea of, for some of these summer episodes, I should get 5 minutes with Scott, you know?
At least.
At least, if not 25.
Once I finally go on vacation, finally in July, I mean, God, do whatever you want.
Yeah, Gavin's in Europe.
Here are the keys.
Yeah, I still talk to the same people, but just about nothing important.
They're like, is Gavin going to come on? I think
just one more thing.
This is just a warm up. We're going to do a pre-record here.
So, Gavin, we do have a call. Serious stuff.
Dragon related?
No dragons in sight. It's a real shame if you do ask me.
Sure, I mean, we'll listen to it, I suppose.
I like a cryptid too, folks. I like Supernatural, the show. Anyway, Gavin, here is the call. They do mention me by name.
Hey, Gavin and AT. Hello. Great coverage recently, y'all, especially in the height of this election season. I want to see if I can pull y'all into the prediction game a little bit. With Lieutenant Governor Evette, who do y'all think she's going to pick for her Lieutenant Governor running mate? Do we think it's going to be an outsider, kind of an oddball pick like she was for Governor McMaster? Do we think she'll go someone in the legislature, maybe someone in the judicial branch or like a solicitor? If y'all were her, who would you pick? I don't know. I want to pull y'all into the prediction game a little bit. Thanks so much. Love the podcast, y'all. Bye.
All right, well, we love hearing from our no-name caller and the begrudging hello to AT.
Thank you, yes.
Well, I will say that after the gaggle, after the debate the other night, we always get these spin gaggles with the candidates, and at the very end, someone asked about her running mate, and she actually made some news by saying in the next 48 hours that she was going to release a short list, basically like what they do for Supreme Court justices, of possible candidates for her to be her running mate. But Evette did say that she wants someone who's a rock-solid conservative, Christian, and has a strong business acumen.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
I mean, I've been seeing a lot of lawmakers floating around her events. Mm-hmm. Folks from like the coast, the low country,
I was gonna say,
and the Grand Strand who are always up in the middle of the upstate. And I'm like, oh, what are you guys doing here? You know, like stuff just like that.
Coincidence.
So I don't want to put anyone's name out there. I would lean more to lawmaker
establishment,
you know, because since she's more of a outsider, like you need someone who's a bit more based in something like that.
I don't know if we can go oops all outsiders. You know, you're gonna want some
then
establishment.
I mean, then you can say like there's really no true outsider in this race right now because Wilson's been out there for 16 years. She's been out there for 8 years. But I mean, again, she didn't come from the political background,
sure.
Like, you know. But of course, everyone's looking past that, and everyone's an insider. You know, it's like even though incumbents get reelected all the time, like Lindsey Graham going for a fifth term,
number 5,
he's heading towards it. There, it's like, oh, we hate these guys, but then it's like they always go when they elect them a lot of times. But I don't know. I don't really know what advantage this is going to get her this late in the game when I think a lot of people's minds are made up.
Yeah.
I think this could almost backfire on some of the people that are going to be on that short list. You know, it's like, do we really want to put names out there if it's not going to work out? I don't know who's waiting to vote for someone based on who might be their running mate. I do think that, you know, Wilson made a good pick with his running mate. Again, another person who's kind of an insider,
strategic.
But also like could say checks the same boxes that she's talking about: business acumen, strong conservative, like very moral Christian. You're talking about Mike Rickenbach from Florence, the senator. Like he checks all those boxes. For a long time, we were talking about how she wanted Mike, but then I was always against it because it's like that's too much of an Ohio ticket because Mike's from Ohio, even though everyone's hating on Ohioans. You know, like including Wilson, who made a dig at her about Ohio. I didn't put this in there, but in the closing statements, they were supposed to say something nice about each other. He said something about Ohio in the closing statement, and then she makes a dig, you know, saying that, you know, I didn't win the lottery of being born in South Carolina, but I made it here as quickly as possible, which is, you know, an easy way to work it around. I've done time in Ohio, folks. I've been there. I've done my time willingly. 4 years at Kent State, yeah.
What does that show about Gavin's decision
That
making?
means that I have to be well-rounded. I sacrifice so much that people don't understand.
The front line of being in Ohio.
I left the bustling metropolis of the D.C. area, which I needed. I mean, it was Snoozeville. Everyone's like, don't you want to get back to D.C.? Absolutely not.
To the real
Then
people.
I was like, let me go to Ohio, because I got in.
Yeah.
But they also had my degree and my major, and I did everything I wanted to do. You make of it what you want.
Him, folks. Look where it got him,
and
folks.
time in Lima.
Yeah.
And then Columbus. And then I was like, okay, give me the out of here. I did 6 years.
Bleep.
Okay. Thank you. Got my T-shirt, got my degree, got my
Notice, folks, Gavin has not mentioned the original question.
Well, I just kind of...
He's got a lot of money tied up in Kalshi and Poly Market, all on this, folks.
I've been betting on the entire
A lot
race.
of his crypto's tied up in this race,
God,
folks.
I'm sure plenty of people are. I'm like, we as journalists subscribe to a code of ethics.
Yeah.
And
I've seen his Kalshi account, folks. Okay.
Speaking of which, if you have an extra $50,
use code Gavin on Poly Market.
Gavin 50.
Yeah. Anyway,
I get a small commission.
Gavin, go ahead.
We don't like AI. We don't like prediction markets. So no AI or prediction markets involved in this podcast.
Correct.
Or lifestyle.
Thank you for getting that in there. I'm sure producer Sean will appreciate it. With that, say the outro, Gavin.
People are like, I want to see his bank account.
It's bad.
It's actually really not good.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, y'all, for listening to the podcast, and thank you for calling again. Our unknown listener, we love hearing from folks. You don't have to share your name. It's okay. It's a safe space here. 803-563-7169. Give us a shout. We'll find out soon. Again, she was supposed to release that list probably today, so we'll find out. We'll all be in this together. And then, of course, if you guys want to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast from, we love that, too. You can stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV and SouthCarolinaPublicRadio.org, and don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
I was in my basement watching it on TV and just living on Twitter.
Yeah, he was mad that he wasn't there, folks. Don't let him fool you.
The idea of
I was in the basement. I was so mad I wasn't there.